Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer1745 here with my continuing playthrough of Hearts of Iron 3 with Black Ice 9.11. Yes. Okay, we're going to continue this now. We're eating up some more officers. So what we need to do here is do this even more so. Not going to hurt us. We are well ahead on so much research here. And, oh good, these guys go here and here. Okay, running low on convoys and such, so building some more. Okay, Saudi Arabia, we'll take yours. Correct. Fire unit training has advanced. And we're just going to stop that. We've overpushed now, while we've reduced the numbers. Air superiority tactic. And we're going to stop that. How are we doing for? Okay, we've got the Prinz Eugen now and more infantry divisions. Oh, the Soviet Union decides it wants a even worse Air Force than it currently has. Yay. Okay, SA militia under control of the Wehrmacht. Now the Wehrmacht controls the SA militia. Their SA controls the SA. Their militia is no longer a buildable unit. Okay, this removes the ability to build it as a buildable unit. You shouldn't care because you've got more SA than you know what to do with. Yeah, I know you can spread it around and occupy territories and things like that, but you've got enough of that. Okay. Totenkopf. Standarte number 4 in Ostmark. Yay, we got more evil dudes. Let's attach him to one of the evil dudes central SSTV inspectorate as opposed to the SSVT inspectorate. Flieger, 7th Flieger Division. Yay. I'll probably pull off. Oh, Strauss is the current general of that. Okay. Oh, Stevenson now, general of that. Okay. As opposed to being general of our school here. This has gone up. Okay. Building air bases, yes, we want that. here. Everybody to the top. We're almost to the Blucher as well. Okay, because we jumped up in our ICs to almost 600. Good and bad. Good that it is more, bad that it's getting close to 650, which we don't really want to go over. So we are not building any more ICs, though we will get more when we get Czechoslovakia, but that may require, we're going to save and be prepared to lower it down. So now, what do we want to build with more? Got those guys coming, got that. We could use more convoys and more escorts. There we go. Oh, Iran. Yeah, we'll accept Iran's offer. Where is Iran's offer? Disappear? Oh, yes. Here it is. Okay, airplane radio communications have advanced. And we'll stop that. Steel, coal. Well, let's do some building. We need to see where we should build. We should look for big one like this to increase steel and coal. And well, also better in both. So down here and move these to the top. We're really low on convoys. Well. Okay, Wewelsburg, SS Leader HQ. Okay, I've learned more about this reading the book Hitler's Monsters. And Hitler's Monsters, that's a sensationalist title. Yeah, I wouldn't have picked the book cover that they picked, but I understand. Oh no, I would have done a sensational book cover too, because book covers sell books. Just the book cover I wouldn't have done. But the Hitler's Monsters that they're referring to is the monsters that Hitler created to created or used to scare the German people, if you will. And by that I mean like the Bolsheviks, the Jew, the the guys that are coming out to get you, and we're going to protect you. That's sort of where the Hitler's Monsters, I believe, is the primary element. Now, I know most of you have heard of Wewelsburg Castle. Hitler is, was it Willy Gut? Or was it somebody else that pointed at or got this castle? Supposedly had a bunch of ley lines and other sorts of radiosthesia points as to be the center of it. It was sort of what it is, I guess now, is sort of a museum. Now, obviously, it includes sort of museum of SS stuff, but takes it over. And wants to have a huge compound built around this castle. But the Black Sun thing is obviously because they put that black sun in the floor, they believed it. And they believed that this black sun was some sort of mystical spot radiating positive energy or something. I don't even know if they know exactly what it all means. I'm not exactly sure, obviously, what it means, but this is now getting into the, if you will, deeper, more esoteric occultism than the sort of general esoteric esoteric occultism of the Nazis. This is getting in deep, and Himmler wasn't also terribly worried about the specific theology of it, but he wanted the ceremonies, and he believed in that stuff. So we can do that or not. We will do it. Cost us a little bit of money, but we gained some officers. Ascari pensions. You've already agreed to pay them. So this is the yearly one. Remember, the first one I think was 100 money. This is just 20. So you sort of paid the back dues, if you will. Now you're paying yearly ones, buying their loyalty. Okay, the German National Prize for 1938. You have, let's see, Fritz Todt right there for the Inspector of the Roads. Engineer Ferdinand Porsche right there, for obviously whether the Volkswagen or other sorts of stuff. I think that's Willy Messerschmitt, and I think that's Ernst Haeckel, if I'm not mistaken, obviously for aircraft design. So, and this is from the D-Worms mods. So we get various bonuses, lose a little bit of money, lose descent, which is not needed at the moment. Would have liked this earlier, but hey, better than nothing. So, great. Okay, mobile unit command and control has advanced, fine, and we're ending that. Now we are out of our deficit spending, and we're going to let most all these just go. We're going to eat our losses until we get these convoys going up. Got some factories. Working. Marine HQs, good. Yeah, that's good. Artillery carriage designs. And that also. That, which, yes, we can decide not to spend the manpower. Manpower is the only thing that maybe sort of kind of affects us, but. There we go. Marine Corps. In the Corps, not as in Corps. I don't know if that made any better sense. HQ there, help defend the coastline. Do we have a 134? Yeah, here in Palm. And artillery unit command and control. Okay, we pushed ahead on that. Now let's come back over here. So let's go with that for now. Now what is too far ahead? Also popped up. That's too far. Oh, that's 1940. What? I should have done this one. I was probably looking there, but there we go. The year dates and whatnot. Oh, 41. Consumer goods up. Sweden. Now Sweden wants something. Money for metal. Yes, we'll take that because that will help our relations with Sweden. Have they improved at all? No. Well, they're drifting more towards us, it looks like. Okay, direct fire unit. As we continue to move through these, or basically we're almost done except for that one, which I'm pushing for 1940 across that board. Top there, whatever. Oh, these pushed us over because of the one event, I think. We were wasting it there. Okay. Well, yeah, we've got two now. Oh, no, just one now. So let's throw it there to light bomber. Okay, the 10th Party Congress. Each Partag Day referred to a motto. This was Greater Germany. So we're going to get 6 base ICs minus 2.5% of ICs until October 39. So, yay. The Gross Zeppelin 2 is launched, so now we have a modern Zeppelin again, as opposed to a somewhat older Zeppelin. The Graf Zeppelin. We now have the Graf Zeppelin and the Graf Zeppelin 2, and we're retiring the Graf Zeppelin 2 basically at this point. We've got high popularity, yay! Okay, we are now at 600 ICs, we gotta watch that. And we are back down here, good. Because that's sort of, because there's a brief time between the end of the effects of the Reich Party Day and whatnot. Okay, yes, let's put that there, get our medium bombers up. How are we doing for, okay, we still producing. They're getting there, October 2nd. What does the Soviets want? Money for rare material. Money for rare materials. Basically all of our money for rare materials. We're going to decline that. Yes, I know this is just the time we need to be building up our rare materials. That was just a little too big of a jump. Money for metal. Yeah, we want Bulgaria to like us. I don't think that costs us any shipping. Yeah, not. And, oh, motor torpedo boats. Oh, good. Yeah, let's stick them over here. Use them to drive around the Baltic. Okay, this, Aussig Sudetenland, Stab Chief Lutz swearing in the Sudeten SA. Many former members of the Sudeten Deutsches Freikorps, 26,000 men strong at its peak, joined the SA after the Sudetenland joined the Reich. Now, it's not saying 26,000 men joined the SA, it's just the Freikorps at its peak was 26,000 men. And these were, you know, military trained type men. Now, earlier, Vent giving us part of the Sudetenland gave us these guys, which sort of represents some of those Sudeten volunteers, but obviously that isn't 26,000 of them. But there's Luntz swearing them in. So now we have, and which before the effects really hit the scene, we have some SA men here. And these are mostly just in single brigade units. They were sort of all stretched out. It's in one Gao, and this is a Gao that looks like this sort of crazy pattern here. And we will attach this to the Dresden group, I guess. There we go. That is the last of the additional SA units. Now there's going to be one more major event that's going to take most of these SA units and take them away and replace them with the same number but weaker SA units that will represent manpower going to the army and give us a big shot of manpower as well. And you don't want to mess with the SA until that time. Oh, actually here what we probably should have done was let's grab all of these and do this to it so they don't get upgraded. We don't want to upgrade these. These aren't going to disappear like the other ones will. That was too much of a coding mess to deal with. Now some of these guys, the SA, the Sudeten SA units, fought in the Polish War because they had been trained and equipped much more like army units, getting ready for the battles with. The idea was to have the Freikorps people be sort of agent provocateurs and guerrillas and whatnot, fighting in Czechoslovakia, and then have the German army come in to protect them and stabilize the situation. So they were trained and equipped much better to deal with that kind of work than most SA units. So when Poland came around, several of the SA elements were used as actual combat troops in the Polish invasion. Interception tactics. Okay, good. Let's look at. Yeah, let's go with it. Waiting for nations that I don't plan on invading to come up, and ones that I don't have to use shipping because I still have only 5 ships left. So, like Chile here, no. Norway, I'm thinking of invading, so no. Sweden, I'm thinking of invading, possibly. But I do want to improve relations with them, so that I get the Swedish steel thing. Now, of course, I'll lose the Swedish steel during the invasion, but if I puppet them, I should get it back. If Sweden doesn't exist, I don't think I get the Swedish bonuses. That's something to keep in mind. Okay, units of the Third Reich, Fallschirmjäger divisions. We want the historical divisions. That's just a general thing. If you wanted the HQs and build them yourself, you could do that. And what we have here, okay, several things. More motor torpedo boats. Let's here. Gonna do groups of them. So now 6U flotilla. Sure, the Hindus, fine. And form the, what's that, the 6th, or 16th, I should say. Motorized Army Corps, great. And then we have the Vienna Awards, which, okay, I've also been looking into this a bit more for our Hearts of Iron 4 version. Now that Germany has gotten the Sudetenland, Hungary wants to get in on it particularly. And it's sort of this region here. There's a fair amount of Hungarian-speaking people live here. I specifically didn't say citizens because, well, they had been part of the citizens of the Austro-Hungarian Empire and citizens within the Hungarian region of that, but that would include many other places as well. So Hungary wants to get their people back, and they've seen that they can, you know, pressure for this. And there's actual invasion and battles. Now, the battles are like 2-3 people die total. And that's sort of the invasion, and then they sort of go home, and they sometimes are doing this on bicycles, and it's, you know, it's sort of war almost by accident, or, you know, it's just sort of border provocations, you know. So I don't want to make this out as any sort of major invasion or, you know, divisions marching deep into Czechoslovakia. No, it's just a company here, a battalion there, moving around. Some of the Czech border units shoot back a little bit. They shoot back at them. Not even necessarily trying to kill anybody, just like discharging their firearms. A couple of people are killed. It's really small. I forget the details because I don't have them in front of me, but that's sort of what's going on. I have a bunch of that stuff leading up to the ability to have this happen. Don't know. I think I may need new batteries for my mouse. It's wireless. So, we'll gain a bunch of dissent. But, and because we're now pushing other nations to do things, so this, you know, upsets France and Britain. We're no longer just getting Germans for ourselves. But yes, we want to do this. No, this is actually going to end up... Oh, this is actually going to end the complete thing? I guess so. This changed, or am I just not remembering this right? The first Vienna Award. Well, whatever. I guess it's just jumping ahead of some of the stuff, because you can see now Czechoslovakia or Hungary's taken all of this instead of just its first things. And yes, we will get Slovakia as a puppet. It's better than having units rise up in a revolt and dealing with all of that. But we're still going to inherit Czechoslovakia. So, okay, we're going to, before this happens, because I didn't save it, I should have saved it before, we're going to drop down to full mobilization. Yes, full mobilization. And we're going to let a day go by, because I want to have this readjusted so that it adjusts every day. I believe is how it does it. They are now guaranteeing Poland's independence. And now we're down at 557 from 600. Okay, so we will go with that. There we go. Czechoslovakia. And now that we have all of this, France is mobilizing. We gain this Czech unit that's ended up inside of. Where? Oh, Czechoslovakia wants to trade with us. Ain't gonna work. Okay, let a day go by. And let's see what's going on. Ah, Slovakia. Yes, you can have some aircraft plans. Okay, now we're back up at 585 from 57. Oh, I don't want to do math. Okay, so we saved that there. Now I'm going to come here and no, we saved it. I'm going to come up here now in politics and test out what war economy would do for us. I don't want to do the math. 15% more from what we're having here now. Wait for the day. Okay, 639. So we are just under it now. 16 under it. So we can't really afford to have any more ICs. We'll get something from Memel, but that's about it. That's how we go after Poland. So keep that in mind. I think we will continue this, but we have to be very cautious. We're not building any more ICs. I normally keep building some, just a few, for the fun of it, or whatever, you know. Increasing things, but we don't want to do that now. Well, let's see here. Do we have any big rare extraction? Okay, that may be worth that. There. Yeah, it needs a big stack really to be worth it, or for us just simply to be out of them and sort of screaming, where are my rares? Which normally only will happen once we are invading the Soviet Union. What's its sort of total here? 4. No, that ain't much. Something, but it ain't much. So this is much better here. So this is base 5. Okay, well. I think some of these base 10s, or these 10s, are going to get an update. That we're already doing. Hoping for some 20s or something to be in one spot. There, we click there. 9.5. 2. Okay, we'll do those. We'll do those, and we will move all of these down. That will help with rare material. Those take, I think, longer to build. What is it? November 39. Oh god, November 39. Oh no, I'm looking at the wrong thing. January 39. Okay, no, that isn't so bad. I was looking down here. Look up here. Okay. No, January, that ain't so bad. We'll build those. Those will help a bit. And that we could throw in another coal. Let's look Berlin. Oh, Berlin could use a rare material. That would be good. We'll do that as well. Okay. And these guys. I'm gonna move these guys down. I want to get these guys done, but I also want to get some of these other units and things done beforehand, so because we already have these guys. And we now have more shipping. So that's good. We can do some more stuff. What does the US want? Yes, we will do the US's deal. Oh, and we need to deploy things. Motor torpedo boats. Yeah, that group. And now that we have Czechoslovakia, we get a lot more leadership. Not as much as I thought, but some more. I think it should be a lot. Czechs really helped the Germans in some various research areas. Okay, we'll do that. We have a partial one more. Armor plating. Yeah, we'll do it. Oh, and Sweden wants something. Ah, yes, sure. We're trying to get good relations with you. Yep, drifting closer to us. Poland's mobilizing. Okay, so we took out Czechoslovakia early. Supposed to happen in 39, obviously. Well, historically it did, but we gained 200%. As we saw earlier, in my recent book about the essay, reading a little bit more details about the essay and cigarette smoking and selling cigarettes. They very much did that for money-making purposes and leading up to it. But then eventually they stopped that going on. And the Nazis, if you were the right type of person, an Aryan, you know, who also believes what they believe, you know, you're a Nazi, you're somebody who's going along with the thing, you know, you're not a communist. They really cared about you. So, if you're the right type of person, so they want to stop smoking because they see it as bad for you. So this isn't a ban on smoking, it's just a ban on smoking in many public places, including offices and public waiting rooms and that kind of thing. So this is sort of early, we know what's good for you, do what we say. Are we out? Oh, we still have a unit way over here. Okay. Oh, we get a mountain unit too. Cool. And some more. Let's Japan. Yes. JG2 Richthofen. 132 Richthofen. Do we not have a unit by that name yet? Okay, I guess somehow not seeing it. I guess we don't. Well, okay, let's give it a home here in Breslau, yeah. Let's give it, this guy. Where's Fighter Command? Flieger Corps F. Supply transportation advance. That's good. Helps us even now, but big time later on. What's the other one? Oh, transport hold. Well, we'll let that one go. Okay, we're out of not our territory. That's good. And yes, we'll take another headquarters unit of a Haas unit. Okay. There we go. Let's move you east. Mountain HQs, good. Well, let's do SS. I'm doing SS HQs. Not that I don't want these other ones. It's just I don't need those yet. But the SS ones will help us reduce revolt risk. Well, any of the HQs theoretically would do that too, but they do so much more so. And they reduce the time in between attack as well. But now we have much more stuff. And many of these units will be used. Maybe not all of them. That's the school, right? That goes with our other one. There we go. Breslau area fighters are getting better. Okay, TAC ground crew training. And we also, yes, achieved naval ground crew training too. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so we'll stop this. That probably just didn't show up, or I missed it somehow. I'd rather get naval tactics, and yeah, these guys going. Okay, we're back to some growth here, not huge. Okay, I find this is another interesting thing. Dr. Lutz Heck. Professor Dr. Lutz Heck, Director Zerstörung des Zoologischen Gartens, would like to travel to Southwest Africa, our former colony, to get more animals for the Berlin Zoo. It would be a chance to send a team with him to help better relations with Germans who stayed behind in our former colony and other South Africans. I don't think he did too much of this before the war. He did a lot of it after the war. Heck is the person who's behind Heck Cattle and, oh, what's the other thing that he did? One other thing. The Nazis believed, and this goes back to their core beliefs in the Nazis. And this is what I'm trying to talk to and explain why Nazis are different than fascists and other people. Nazis believed that there were ancient races of man. And they believed that if you could somehow, basically sort of through inbreeding, if you will, try to breed out bad genetic traits that they got through miscegenization, breeding with lesser humans, or humans, if you sort of take some of the things that they were some sort of pseudo-angel type things, people, or whatever you want to call them. And if you could sort of breed them out, you will regain the earlier versions of these people, the people from Thule, Atlantis, whatever you want to call it, with their magical powers. They really believed that you could do this. It's sort of coming from 19th century farming practices and going back before. You know, you get a say a horse that wins a race because he's really fast. You breed it with another horse that wins races really fast to accentuate the the characteristics of the horse to build faster racehorses, and it works. It doesn't all not all offspring are equal. You know, there's differences, but generally you can breed for traits. That's why you have all these dog breeds. If you let dogs go for a while, they become what we call mutts. They just sort of generically sort of work back into some generic sort of dog after a while. They'll give up all of their sort of special breeds. So Hitler and the Nazis believed that you could do this. Well, whether you believe there were superhuman beings or not in the past, that could be a belief thing that you may hold. Genetics, our breeding and genetic science shows that you can't regress to a former state. You can't by breeding. Now, if you have the DNA and you know what the old DNA looked like, meaning you have samples of it or something, it could be petrified in something else or whatever, theoretically, but you have samples of it, you could maybe fiddle with the DNA to create superhumans. And that's eugenics. Now, and this all sort of comes from eugenics, and a lot of it actually comes from American eugenics programs and viewpoints from America. And Hitler and others specifically read about the American program. So some of the core elements of Nazism come from America. Margaret Sanger is a big proponent of this. Now, and she's, you can look Margaret Sanger up. She was a racist. She's held up very high as very high. One of the women who got the Margaret Sanger Award, if I'm not mistaken. What was her name? Hillary Clinton is a proud honoree of the Margaret Sanger Awards, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think I am. And Margaret Sanger is not a Nazi in that she believed in this esoteric occultism, and not that there were ancient super races of man, and that so she's not a Nazi, but she believed in eliminationist eugenics. That's one of the key elements. Eliminationist eugenics, in that you through breeding you eliminate bad genetic people, and if you want to take it kindly viewpoint, you just simply stop the wrong people from making new people, breeding. Meaning, you could sterilize them. You could make laws that, they go to prison if they breed with other human beings, or you could just imprison them in same-sex camps or something so they can't physically breed with other human beings. But she believed in eliminationist eugenics, which is different than just eugenics, in that, say, if you can, many of you watch Star Trek, and you got Khan, Nomi, and Singh, the sort of superhuman, and the eugenics wars that they talk about, and some of that stuff, is the idea of that you could go in nowadays with the DNA and try to change the DNA of humans to make a better human. That doesn't necessarily mean that you want to eliminate the bad ones. It just means you want to improve it, which of course you could go into so-called undesirable peoples and alter their genes. Now, of course, Margaret Sanger believed, along with a lot of these other people, criminality was a genetically inherited trait. That's part of their racism. And so they project this not just on an individual, but on a race. So Margaret Sanger believes all of this stuff. That eliminationist eugenics. And so I think a lot of Western people, not all, but a lot of Western people would go, oh, you know, before a child is born, someone gets to where they can look at its, you know, really early in its, you know, pre-birth development, sample its genetics, you know, its DNA, and look at, oh, it's going to have a birth defect. Well, we could correct that birth defect. I think most parents would go, yes, please, do so. Now, where you start getting controversial is, oh, what eye color do you want your children to have? What hair colored children you have? And would everybody start having, you know, Hitler Youth kids? From whatever race, you know, Chinese, I'm trying to keep this non-controversial, Chinese kids decide, oh, well, we want our kids to look like, you know, the Hitler Youth poster boy. You know, at what point do you what point do you're changing a kid that it's no longer your kid? You know, I agree, I don't have any kids, but if I did, and if I was, you know, I was told, oh, your child has this, whether minor or serious, what they would consider a birth defect, but they've, you know, done testing first on animals and whatever else, and, you know, obviously if you have something that's seriously life-threatening and, you know, 99% of the kids born with it die, your parent, yeah, test on my kid. Once you sort of think you're right, let's see it. And, you know, if you get to where it's reliably correct birth defects and at the genetic level, I think most parents would go, yes. So, but there should be some lines. I don't know what the lines are. I'm not a geneticist. I'm not an ethicist at that level to say people should be able to pick out hair and eye color, or should you somehow, would it be all right to genetically change the muscle structure so that they're stronger, or the bones are denser, or their eyesight's better, or you're not just corrected for they don't have to wear glasses, but they have eyes sort of like hawks, or, you know, just how far should we tweak the human genome? I don't know, okay? Where's the limits? What's the limits? Is not just what we can maybe at some point, but what we should legally be allowed to do. I don't know. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about sort of general sort of correct birth certificates. I think most people would sort of go, yeah, I'm good with that. Okay. So that's sort of, you know, I guess, some positive versus negative eliminationist eugenics. Well, Heck, who's coming out of this similar sort of background, believes that you can do this with animals. And since the Nazis sort of, you can do this, they believed without any evidence that you could breed back, not just breed back in traits, like let's say a breed of horse completely dies out. And there are breeds of horses, I think, that, you know, relatively recent breeds of horses that have completely died out, and ones that are sort of struggling to hang on. Stuff that was, say, from the 19th century that were good draft animals that just don't make a whole lot of sense today because they're just not needed. And no one's breeding them. And doesn't mean that none of the horses have children. It's just they're not necessarily, the breed is maintained. It's like going back to the mutt status, that whether the pure breed or the general breed disappears, and it happens. But it's not that, then let's just say that all of that breed disappears. And again, this is not some trying to bring back the dinosaur, or even the which I think would be a big mistake. I have look at Jurassic Park, but it might not be a big mistake to bring back something a bit more recent, like the mammoth or the mastodon, which are basically colder area elephants, colder region elephants. Okay, that wouldn't be, a huge disaster for mankind or something, and they may be able to adapt to living in, because I don't know how intelligent they are, and if they could, adapt to living in some cool climates like Scotland or Norway or wherever, or just northern Russia, if they would avoid humanity enough and have enough range to sort of exist in and whatnot, maybe we could redo that. And they're still trying to find good genetic samples from the frozen tundra and things like that. So but that's bringing it back with genetics. You know, taking an elephant egg, but fully removing the DNA element from it and putting in a mammoth's DNA in it so that it grows up so it will be a mammoth. But that's just a clone of the mammoth that they found. And then if they sort of know the DNA enough, they could maybe switch it so that there's now a clone but of the opposite sex, and then they could breed, and you can maybe get a breed of mammoths back. But I'm talking about horse breed X that maybe totally dies out. There's no one has any genetic samples of it, and we're not finding a genetic sample and putting it into another horse egg and making it. Where I'm just talking about it's completely gone, and oh well, we decide we want big horses again or something like that, and so you start rebreeding for the similar sorts of traits. Well, you're never. And then if, say, you do have a sample of the original genetics, or you find one or whatever, and then if you breed up a new version of it, the genetics won't be the same. They may have the same height as a horse, whether at their head, or normally you measure horses at their shoulder height. So have the same shoulder height, or have the same weight, or have the same colorization, but they're not genetically the same, as the same breed. They just have similar outward physical appearance traits. The only way you could get back to the same breed of it is if you have some of the precursor breeds that you use to breed up the first one. If you have those, you could maybe, theoretically, I'm sitting here thinking, maybe you could get something that would be close enough to the same breed. But I still can't remember. There's the Heck cattle. One other thing that's still around. Is it wild boars or something? Well, he believed that he could use the same kind of science that they're going to rebuild these superhumans, that you could get back the aurochs, which you see paintings of it down here in the palace, the Minoan palace down here, King Minos and whatever, the bull leapers from that kind of stuff. And you see the people. They originally sort of thought the people were not drawn to scale. No, those were just really super huge cattle that died out, and that basically I think humans did, because the Romans like using them in their gladiatorial slaughterings and whatnot. Finally killed them off. Thought that they could sort of rebreed the aurochs and return it. That the genetic code is hidden within modern cattle of similar sorts of types, and if you breed them in the right way, you'll get aurochs. That doesn't work. You just get cattle that maybe look sort of like an aurochs, bigger, have bigger sort of horns and other things, but you won't ever get aurochs back. You have to go in and genetically manipulate things. But he thought you could create Nazi cattle, and this was just Goring supports a lot of this stuff, because that's what I'm thinking, boars or something. One other one that he does, maybe it's the Heck horse. Is it the horse, maybe? Well, but he breeds these things that are sort of like a primitive horse and sort of like an early aurochs, I think, maybe. The aurochs is sort of wandering around in some Polish forests here. Goring sets up a hunting preserve forest kind of thing that they want to grow these things in. And Heck is a member of the Nazi Party, so we can send him down to Southwest Africa. Oh, and Heck was later, and I think maybe this time period, but also more so later, going down to Southwest Africa and collecting zoological samples for the Berlin Zoo. So he was doing that also. But he was a Nazi and trying to create Nazi super animals so that Nazi supermen could go hunt them in the traditional way. Yep, that's what these guys were into. And that's why I vehemently am, and more so, wanting to separate out fascists from Nazis. Nazis are racist or racial, but not just racist as I don't like X race. They're sort of their weird sort of racial super beliefs. Okay. Oh yes, we have the Schleswig-Holstein. When I say that, I also think of the Holstein cow. But okay. They did send the Schleswig-Holstein to the West Indies. Oh, yeah, I didn't know we weren't paused. This is an earlier postcard from the World War I era, is why you sort of see the World War I type flags. But that's from its earlier period. Just thought it made a nice image. Send the Schleswig-Holstein to the West Indies on a training and goodwill mission. They did send the Schleswig-Holstein down there, and it had its complement of 850 sailors. Now, this is an old ship that's been upgraded or updated somewhat. At least some of the lower side guns had been removed, I think, and a few other things like that. And some modernization has been done on it. So it's not a modern ship by any means, but it's still a a pre-dreadnought sort of battleship, and it was sent off. Oh, and it has 850 sailors, which and 150 cadets additionally, and we could send down 2 there, which will help our relations and get more battleship crew training for our cadets. And from looking at the stuff, all of the cadets, and this is I found from not necessarily this ship, it was another ship that they were sent, some cadets were sent on. They are expected to keep a log, sort of like a diary, but they should draw in interesting things they see, which could be like a port entrance, or the general shape of the of an island, the outline of the hills and mountains and whatever else. And the reason they want to do that is not that the German Navy didn't have reliable charts and maps and drawings. They did. But by simply you sitting down there and drawing it, taking your time and drawing it, you sort of remember the outline. You sort of remember these things. You sort of, when you write it in the book, you remember it better. So that when the German Navy, often many of these cadets end up being in submarine crews too, but that's different training, as junior officers and things like that. Especially by 1940, 41, these cadets are now a bit more senior officers, is go to places. So now that they've gone around here and they get talked to by other officers and watch, where do merchant shipments move around out here? So where do we sit out here or wherever do you sit with your submarines to try to get merchant ships to sink them? So there's a lot of that going on with these missions as well. But also there's sort of the idea of especially out here, not as a threat to any of these nations, but sort of like, let's just say the Dominican Republic improves the relations, and then let's Dominican Republic, we're getting good buddies with Germany, and well, we're now having problems with being invaded by Haiti. Haitian invasion is sort of what I was thinking, but Haiti's invading. Well, maybe we could get our good buddies if for some reason the United States isn't playing Monroe Doctrine and interfering, which they mostly are, but for good or for bad. Sometimes it's really good for the good. Like the people out here in Panama all the way up to here had been Colombia, but there were literally no roads connecting the isthmus here with the rest of Colombia, and these people felt very isolated, and there was sort of local resentment. And when the U.S. sort of showed up and said, "Hey, do you want to be independent from Colombia?" they sort of said, "Hell yes." Oh, and you're going to build a canal and make us super rich? I still think America should still own the canal, not the rest of Panama. It was stupid of freaking Carter to give that away. It was ours. We built it. We paid for it. It was ours. Now, Panama still made lots of money off the canal. And Panama is a much nicer country because of the canal. And so this was, for the Panamanians. Now, for the Colombians, it might not be such a good idea because, hey, Colombia, lost territory. Now, of course, Colombia was never going to be able to build a canal. Still couldn't do so today. So it would have to have somebody else build it, and what would they ask as the price to build it? Whoever it is, the US or China or Russia or Nazi Germany or whoever. You know, so not necessarily always intervening for the bad, but they could, you know. Now, of course, maybe if there was, you know, so sort of the idea that Germany can still send a big ship out to, you know, stem off an invasion or something. So we increase our relations, just, I mean, ever so infinitesimally from one visit. It doesn't make nations who hate you love you, or even ones that sort of like you super love you or anything. No, it helps a little bit, and they go. So that goes off. That's a historical thing. And we do that. What's that? The 14th Army Corps. Yes, we'll take that. That's a good one. And transport ships has advanced, and we're going to let both of those go. And more of the Richthofen JG2. What is it? Jagdgruppen 2 or something? I don't know. So are we spying on 2 countries or 1 country? I forget. Nope, just 1. Yeah. Probably isn't even hardly worth that. But nav pilot training. We're going to have a lot of those, so yay. But time to end that. Yeah, since we'll have a lot, we got those coming here. Trying to improve some of our bombing capability. Air superiority, ground attack tactics. We're already doing those. Battlefield reserve focus, interdiction efficiency, CAG duty efficiency, logistics strike bombing efficiency. Yeah, we'll do that. The navies, of course, do those kinds of things all the time. But it was fairly rare for Germany because they had just lost a war and had their entire navy basically destroyed at the end of the war. So, okay, time to figure more things out to build. Because yes, we'll get to the Blücher and Tirpitz and others. Oh, well, first let's get the submarines in production. Well, we're getting more fighters, and I like fighters. Fighters are good. Let's go with 3 more fighters and 3 more twin engine fighters. And move these guys to the bottom. There we go. That's good. We have this other Army Corps. Yeah, like I said, that's a pretty good one. Hell, that's almost a division to fight. That's why these guys, I think, added to those will make really good units. Fairly cheap. Now that we have that, okay, who that? I think that'll be the first one of that. You see, sort of looks that way. Okay, let's come down here, sort of, yeah, there's plenty of space down here. Sort of southern area. There we go, Secret Corps F. But we've also had some of the resources come up. There's a bunch of negatives. Mining is going to stay. Division HQ may go away. Industry Works may go away. Rare Crest will stay. Building manufacturing plants, that I think will go. We're going to have to watch some of that. The Eisenbahn cannon program will stay around for quite a while, I think. Propaganda press, that can come and go, I think. Okay, supply organization events. I'm just sort of watching to make sure we don't go over 650. We may be in 39, dropping back down to a more peacetime economy. Okay, supply organization. 1940, we've got to there. Orange and armament research. Okay. Those are all grayed out, but that now comes here, which will then allow us to do, I think, some of this other stuff. Oh, we saw the tactics flag, I think. Is what's maybe keeping that from happening. Bomber crew layout. And here. Don't know if, I think we lose that after a while, the tactics thing. I think we do. But not absolutely sure. I took that. This will help out our flying boats down at the bottom there. Will be good. We want that. We still have more leadership. Okay, well, since we do, we do. That's good. Let's do reconnaissance aircraft. That'll help out. And prepare the military administration of conquered lands. Yes, we want to do this. Okay. Big, long, unpronounceable German word. Not quite. Let's see. Wehrmacht Verwaltung. Beselzer Gebiet. Okay. You German speakers, on a 1 to 10, how bad scale? 1 being real bad, 10 being good, I guess. I don't know. Did I get that? And I don't care if you say it was scale 1 or 0 terrible. I'm just curious how far off I was on that. Okay, during World War II, Nazi Germany created military-led regimes in occupied territories, which were known as military administrations. These differed from the Reich Commissariat, which were led by Nazi party officials. The military administration was led by a military commander. The armed forces of the Wehrmacht and the so-called Reichskommandanten were also headed by one of those guys too. Wehrmacht Befehlshaber. So, yes, so we can prepare for that. That's going to cost us manpower now, which is actually a fairly big chunk of manpower, but we'll get a lot of units over time and some supplies and money and gain that. But we want to do this so we get other events to happen. So you will want to do that. And that goes away. We're so close to that. Okay, no longer receiving that. Mentioning that, how is we're doing? Okay, so we're doing okay for that. Okay. Ooh, we just hit 47. Okay, yeah. We're going back to full mobilization. I mean, it sounds like a lot, but it's less than what we're at. Okay, so we're going to do that. I think we saved ourselves from going over. Naval strike tactics have advanced. Very good. And we're going to let those go. And TAC pilot training has advanced. That we're going to stop. Let's do that. full mobilization. Okay, we got very close to that. Oh, that was too close. Okay, War of the Worlds. Orson Welles. Orson Welles was a genius, though he was out of touch with society. The reason Orson Welles was not a very successful movie producer is just because of that. You decide to have Rita Hayworth. Maybe most of you don't know who she was. I'm an old movie buff, so I clearly know who she was, and she was sort of known for having big fiery red hair. Now most of the time you don't see that because it's a black and white movie, but you sort of know this fiery red hair. Well, he has her hair cut short in the movie that he wants her to be in. So you take Rita Hayworth and you make her non-Rita Hayworth. Really stupid move, you know, and she's an fine actress, but she isn't, you know, some sort of super actress thing that you just had to have her because she's the only one that can play the part. No, oh good, Fleet Destroyer right into the right person. See, that worked out. Yay, perfect, yay. When the day should roll over, we should drop back down to a safe level. There we go. We got way too close. Way too close. Okay. But we get a little more, reducing back down, we get a little more leadership, so that's nice. Well, let's come back here, look at these. Re-examine these. I think we're good enough there. We're getting that already. Doing that one. Don't want to do 1940s until 1940. I'm still going to wait till 39 for that. Installation security. Let's do that. We should be, oh yes, okay, so we no longer need any consumer goods. We have 35, so we will push that down pretty fast, hopefully. Okay, retirement of Paul Ludwig Ewald von Kleist. It's an odd word, Ewald. Yes, he does, I believe, come back later on. Okay, retirement of, I normally just like Ludwig Kleist or just von Kleist, I don't know. Due to the Fritsch affair, General Paul Ludwig was forced into early retirement on February 18th, 1939, but was recalled into active duty on the 26th of August of that same year and was given command of the 22nd Motorized Corps, which became Panzergruppe Kleist in November 40. Okay, no need. Well, we'll do this just to see what goes on. Okay, so we lose that whole stab that was here. I think. Isn't that it? Or something? Oh, it's a different one. I think, I don't know. Don't remove him though. We lost his thingy. Okay, well, now that we've gotten Bohemia and Moravia, Reich Protector Naruth. We're moving into a much more aggressive phase. He was more of, I don't know, a reluctant Nazi type person. So he's being pushed out. Von Ribbentrop. Von Ribbentrop found the way to power within National Socialist regime. And since he knew Hitler pretty well, and he clued into something that if Hitler says, those people should be imprisoned, Ribbentrop learned that if you disagree with Hitler, Hitler will like you if you do it in the right way. No, mein Führer, you're wrong. They should be shot. You should shoot those people. You know, imprisonment's not good enough. Or whatever it would be. Or, you know, whatever it is. If you take a more extreme position than Hitler, Hitler likes you. But he'll go, no, that's overdoing it. We can't just shoot everybody, just imprison them. I'm just sort of using this as some example. But several other people sort of noted this about Ribbentrop, is that he would come out and have these opinions that people would, that would go more extreme than Hitler, and just whatever it would be. And he wouldn't necessarily have voiced any of these opinions beforehand or in other venues. It was just to try to be more of a National Socialist than Hitler being a National Socialist. And if Hitler was restraining you, you were good for Hitler, because Hitler's the reasonable guy. We're keeping this fanatic in check, but he's really with me. So he's climbing the rise through the because for a while he's the foreign minister of the NSDAP, while Neurath is the foreign minister of Germany. And then I forget some of the order details. Ribbentrop is sent on to different things, including being sent to London as ambassador. He does a miserable job there. I don't know if the Nazis are aware that he does a miserable job, but he does a miserable job, and it's commented heavily in the press in a very negative way. I don't know how much. I just don't know how much this gets back to Hitler. Quite possibly, since everybody has, in the upper circles of the Nazi hierarchy, everybody has enemies within the circle. There's factionalism going on all the time, and Hitler likes it that way. We can go into some more of that some other time, but Hitler likes it that way. So quite possibly, if there's something bad about somebody, one of the people that don't like him would whisper that in Hitler's ear. And like one of the bad things is when you go to a new country, as an ambassador, at least the normal procedure is, as I understand it, is you present your credentials as the ambassador to the head of state. Now, in the United States, the head of state is also the head of government, and that's the president. In Britain, the head of state is the Queen, the head of government is the Prime Minister. Now, of course, on most diplomatic dealings, government to government, you're going to be dealing with the Prime Minister, but you first check in with the head of state in an official ceremony. Not necessarily like the first day you get there. It may be, well, it depends on what country you are. If you're the United States, probably very early in getting there that you're going to do it. But if you're a more minor country, it may be in a group or whatever. So when he goes up to the Queen, he does a Heil Hitler salute to the Queen, because that's the way Nazis do things. And so he's being uber Nazi to the Queen, which doesn't go over well. You can decide not to bow and whatever to the Queen, but to sort of do the Heil Hitler salute just isn't the way to win friends inside of Britain, even with people that are sympathetic to the Nazis. And those people are probably more likely to be some sort of monarchist too. You just don't do the Heil Hitler salute to the Queen at the formal ceremony. But he does it. So he rubs Britain along the wrong way in several ways. But that doesn't keep him from rising to the top of the diplomatic situation with Hitler. And Hitler's moving into a more and more aggressive foreign policy. Austria, Czechoslovakia. Now is coming up is going to be Poland. Well, Constantine, I've seen it spelled this way with the K, and I've seen it with the C. I don't know if he had a particular way of spelling it or not, but Van Neurath was much more of a diplomat to keep things going diplomatically between countries in a good sort of way, not in a way that is threatening to other bullying and threatening to other nations. So he's not the guy that Hitler wants anymore, even though he's done fairly well in his job. I would say, from what I understand. And so to move him out instead of firing him, because he is, done well, and you don't want to do that. He's appointed Reich Protector of occupied Bohemia and Moravia as Hitler's personal representative in the Protectorate. Hitler chose Neurath partly to pacify the international outrage over the German occupation of Czechoslovakia soon after his arrival in Prague Castle. Neurath institutes harsh press censorship and bans trade unions, and all political parties were outlawed, with the exemption of the National Union. That sort of becomes a brings in the Nazi various Nazi elements as well, sub-parties that are going on into this National Union. He ordered a harsh crackdown on protesting students in October and November. 1,200 student protesters went to concentration camps and 9 were executed. And because again, he had a fairly good reputation as a diplomat with the international scene, so it's seen as a good move. We're not that bad of guys. We're going to do this peacefully. Now, we've earlier met Karmazin. Earlier, he was in charge of the Carpathian Deutsches Partei, the KDP, which was a subgroup of the SDP. Well, the SDP's gone. It's just gone because, hey, all the Germans are now in the NSDAP in Germany, so you no longer need the Sudetendeutsches Party. But his party still exists because it's out here in the Slovakia region. Again, there were towns, villages, small little regions in here that were highly majority Germans. Plus, there was within the cities, there was a significant minority of Germans or German-speaking people or whatever, because they had Slovak citizenship. None of these percentages or regions are big enough for Hitler to want to or claim or whatever of the land. Though he, of course, will maybe get into a bit more, wants to Germanify Bohemia and Moravia more, and he may think of doing that eventually out here. But, so his group changes the name because it's now just the Deutsches Party in Slovakia, and he's now leading that. And see, there he is pinning some of these badges on that. This is their armband. This is their sort of enamel thing. It's similar to their armband. Sort of differences from the standard Nazi stuff, but we now support the DP. That will have benefits later on. Okay, Kampfflieger Schulen 1 and 2. Okay, or no need. Yeah, we'll spend the money. We have the money, plenty of money. Metal, we have it. And supplies, we have it. And especially that we've gone down in ICs a bit. But we're still now back up at 600, man. Ooh. We'll gain a bunch of things. Great. Turn manpower to the pool. I think maybe all the major air bases are done. Skoda Works. That was one of the major Czechoslovakian works. When Germany took over the western half of Czechoslovakia in 1939, so this is happening early because we took it earlier. Skoda became an arsenal for the German military, producing the Panzer 35T tank, the Jagdpanzer 38T tank destroyers. They also did the Panzer 38T as well. Tank destroyers, the K1 howitzers, among other weapons and equipment. So Skoda Works is now working for us. So we will have more stuff going, and we're going to add that to these. Just as a basic thing, flying boats spot submarines better. I don't know if they attack submarines better, but they see submarines better. It's somewhere in here generally. And I say general because some of the text or something may be different, but they're generally good anti-submarine vessels. Naval bombers are better at attacking surface vessels. So I sort of like to mix them to sort of go have a flying boat out as part of the thing to try to spot enemy submarines, and have bombers to deal with both attacking the submarines but also attacking any ships they see as well. So I sort of like to mix that up often. Not always, because I think the flying boats will have a longer range, sort of represent their ability to land on water and be refueled and whatnot, but a longer range, and there's some other stuff that may be. And sometimes for shorter range operations nearer to places like Britain, I will add, and I plan on adding at least to some units, add in some twin engine fighters to help close escort to the units. Good, we're up at 84%, because we had been way down at 79. I mean, obviously earlier we were way at 60, but so we're gaining on there. That's good on percent of officers. And it's time enough to end this episode. I want to thank everyone for watching. I want to thank you for liking the videos. And of course, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. Love to see you around more often. As well, please post questions, comments, suggestions, ideas, corrections, anything else you can think of. Love hearing from you. See you next time for more Hearts of Iron.